August 10th, and the Code Board of Tarpon Springs is now in session. Bobby, would you please call the roll for us?
Ms. Wade?
I'm here.
Mr. Figlia?
Here.
Mr. Weeks?
Here.
Mrs. Telliar is absent. Mrs. Archer is absent. Mr. Rollinson?
Here.
Dr. Matea?
Here.
Mr. Ogle?
Here.
That completes your roll call.
Thank you. We'd like to remind everybody to please silence your cell phones. And we're going to begin with standing, and there'll be an invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll stand, please. Our Heavenly Father, we seek blessings on the tasks before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. We pray that our work this afternoon will find favor in your sight. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our attorney will review the hearing procedures for you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The matters before the City of Tarpon Springs Code Enforcement Board are quasi-judicial in nature. In a quasi-judicial proceeding, the board's function is to make findings of fact based upon the evidence presented at the hearing and apply those findings of fact to previously established criteria contained in the City of Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinances. This is a legal decision regarding the alleged violation before the board. The board may only consider evidence that the law considers competent, substantial, and relevant to the issues arising from the application of the code sections. If the evidence demonstrates that the respondent has violated the Code of Ordinances, then the board is required by law to find a violation exists. If the evidence demonstrates that the respondent has not violated the code, then the board is required to find that no violation exists. Any and all persons providing testimony at this hearing are required to do so under oath. All persons testifying at this hearing must give their name, address, and must indicate whether or not they have been sworn for the record prior to proceeding with their testimony. All testimony and questioning at this hearing must address matters that are relevant and material to the alleged violations of the city's Code of Ordinances. Any board members who have disclosures such as ex parte communications or conflicts of interest, please make your disclosures at the beginning of the hearing to which your disclosure pertains. The following is the established procedure which will be followed at today's quasi-judicial hearing. First, the code enforcement officer will present the testimony and evidence on behalf of the city, and the respondent may ask any questions of the code enforcement officer. Then the respondent can present their case and their evidence, and the city will have the opportunity to question the respondent and any of the respondent's evidence. The board or its attorney may ask questions of any witness it feels necessary. The board may also adjourn the hearing for a period not to exceed 31 days at any time and request further information from either party. If the hearing is adjourned, at the time the hearing is reconvened, only those board members that have been present from the beginning of the hearing may participate in the deliberations and decision-making process. Upon completion of all the evidence, the chairperson will close the public hearing for board deliberation. At this time, all those who intend to testify at today's hearing, please stand to receive the oath from the clerk.
So if you're going to speak, you need to stand and be sworn in. Thank you.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Be seated. Thank you.
Item 1 on our agenda is Carl John Knorr and Jasmine Roxanne Knorr. It's case number 23-8000138. The address is 1716 Grand Central Avenue. Is anyone for that case present? Officer Boone will present the city's case.
Thank you so much. Board and people who are here, I'm Officer Boone with the Tarpon Springs Police Department. I am in our action unit. I'm one of the community police officers here in Tarpon Springs, and I am representing the city since our code enforcement officer is no longer employed here with the city of Tarpon Springs. There was nothing negative done on her part, so that's not the reasons why I'm standing here. So this case, 23-800-00138, 1716 Grand Central Drive here in Tarpon Springs, was a tourist home. The notice of violation went out. If you look through your package, it went out June 12, 2023. I was not a part of that, but after reviewing it, I saw where the past code enforcement officer did all the proper steps by sending out the notices. I did the postings. The letters were sent out by my secretary through code enforcement. And on August 7th, Monday, I called and spoke to Jasmine Noor, who was one of the property people listed on the property appraiser for that address, and determined that that short-term rental was listed as a 42-day minimum, 6 weeks. She made the change with no hesitation, and I said that that case would be placed in compliance, even after speaking with her.
So your testimony is this is no longer a violation, the property is in compliance?
It is in compliance, and I even checked myself, and there's no issues.
Does anyone have questions for him?
And just for the record, you're not asking for a declaration of violation for future?
I am not. No declaration, no ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Do I hear motion number 4, I think? At the beginning. Should be at the very front of your book. I'll give you mine.
I move in. I move in case number 23-800-00138.
Would you repeat the beginning of that, please?
Sure. I move in case number 238-000-00138 to find the respondent did correct the violation on or before the date the property is located at, and accept the affidavit. Whoa, that's the wrong one. Sorry. One more time. I apologize. I move in case number, we got that, 238-000-00138 to find the respondent is in compliance for correcting the violations and accept the affidavit of compliance.
Do we need to do a roll
A
call?
second, we need a
A
second.
second for that?
Second.
Okay.
Roll call vote?
Mr. Ogle? Yes. Dr. Mateo?
Aye.
Mr. Rolliston?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. Papidio?
Aye.
Ms. Wade?
Yes.
Your motion carries.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I would just ask the board to look at Exhibit 1, the upper right-hand corner. This will be on all the exhibits. I just want to clarify for the record.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
If you look at Exhibit 1 in the upper right-hand corner, we want to clarify for the record. It says Code Enforcement Board exhibits presented by former Officer Stoner for this code officer.
And we need to admit those into evidence?
Well, yes, but we want to clarify that it's Officer Boone who's doing all of these, not Ms. Stoner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will make that notation.
Yes, ma'am.
Case 2. Case number 23-8000139, Tropical Tile Incorporated, 645 River Village Drive. Is anyone here for that case? We'll proceed with this.
In an effort to not have everybody wait, perhaps you could find out who's here for which cases. We could give those cases first, so that, because we have a long agenda.
All righty. Then I'm going to pause my calling of that case number 2 since no one is here. Could you tell me what number case you're here for?
It's number 8 on your agenda.
Are you folks testifying?
Public comment.
And during public comment.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Case number 23800000071.
7-1.
Number 10. So we've got number 8, number 10.
Yes, sir. 40.
They're on the second section, affidavits of noncompliance and second
16.
orders. Yes,
Did I miss anyone who's here?
on a specific case.
And you said I needed to ask permission to change them around?
Yes, just ask for a motion of the board to take 8 and 10 first on this part of the agenda, and number 16 first on the second part of the agenda.
Okay. We
So
need
moved.
need it done as a motion, she's saying.
I make a motion that we take number 8, number 11.
8, 10.
I'm sorry, 8, 10, and 16 in that order.
Second.
We'll do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That way y'all won't have to wait quite so long till we get through all of this. So the next case we're going to see is case number 8. It's listed as case number 23-800000147. Lauren Keen Ahmed, Eric Joseph Ahmed, 313 North Gross Avenue. If you're here for that, if you'll come to the microphone. And do you have any objection to the city presenting their evidence? Thank you. Bobby will make note of that and put it into the record. For all of us on the board, this is listed in your packet as case number 8.
Again, Board, I'm Officer Boone, Tarpon Springs Police Department, in our community policing section and our code enforcement. I am filling in for Code Inspector Cindy Stoner in reference to case 23-800000147, which is 313 North Gross. The inspection was done June 22nd, 2023, and found the property to be a short-term vacation rental home within the city of Tarpon Springs. August 8th, August 7th, which was Monday, I was able to make contact with the property owner and checked the Airbnb site and noticed that it was taken down and was no longer a portion of the vacation stay rental. I do have Ms. McNeese here in reference to the other violations that were on the property, but the short-term rental part was taken care of and in compliance at this time.
So we are going to only consider conditional resident mixed district and not the first item on the charges? Is that correct?
It looks like, Officer Boone, is it just the recreational vehicle issue, or were there additional building code permit issues?
There was other building code permit issues
Okay.
on the property, but the main front residence was also an Airbnb, and all of that's been taken down.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to find them, as I understand, in compliance on 241 and 25.04.
Yes, ma'am.
but the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items need to be addressed.
They need to be addressed.
Okay, thank you. So we need a motion to find them in compliance with those first 2 items, and then we'll address the other 2. Could I hear a motion from someone on the board, please?
I move in case number 23-800000147 to find the respondents Lauren Keene Almond and Eric Joseph Almond in compliance with City of Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinance 241.00, A 213, and 25.04.
Second.
I think I heard a second. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ogle?
Yes.
Dr. Matea? Aye. Mr. Rollinston?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. Repudio?
Aye.
Ms. Wade?
Thank you. We'll continue with the other issues then, thank you.
So I believe there's permit issues, and the owners have some questions, and that was one of the reasons I brought Pat in, who can tell them what steps they need to go from here, and we can make a decision off of the other ones based on that.
Before we do that, can we establish the notice and the property appraiser's records?
And what the violations actually entail?
Yes, and what the substance of the violation is. So, I am looking at the notice of violation, which is Exhibit 3 in the packet. Are you offering this into evidence, Officer Boone?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. And was this sent in accordance with the code to the property appraisers and tax collectors address listed for the respondents?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Okay, thank you. And I see the return, all part of Exhibit 3, the return green cards, and then the notice of hearing for today, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any, did you have any specific inspection dates on this property, or no?
I did not.
Okay.
But they were noticed on July 26th.
I see June 22nd for the notice, June 22nd, 2023 for the notice of violation. And for the notice of hearing, it was June 26th. All right, thank you, Sergeant. Bring that up.
And then Ms. McNeese is going to speak, and she's going to identify her job here in the city.
Can we just clarify what the questions are?
Do we need to swear her in? Have we done that?
She stood and was sworn with everybody else.
Thank you.
Ms. McNeese, have you reviewed this file?
I'm familiar with the case.
Okay. Can you please describe what's going on here?
To my understanding, and again, I assisted the Code Enforcement Department with the case, my understanding is that there was a short-term rental, which apparently has now been resolved. This property had a bed and breakfast use permitted for it in 2006. It's a single-family home. The main structure is a single-family home. And that bed and breakfast was permitted to rent 2 rooms as a bed and breakfast owner occupied. What I believe we have here that they've been cited for is, I can't testify to the owner occupied aspect, but we have rental of the single-family home, the garage in the rear, and a shed in the rear, all as individual rental for a family unit, apparently the recreational vehicle issue is no longer being rented. So that's my understanding of the issue.
The permitted bed and bath, the 2006 permit, is that a conditional use permit? I'm sorry, bed and breakfast.
Yes,
It's a conditional use?
yeah.
What are the requirements of the conditional use?
I can pull up the original, but the main requirement that was that they be able to rent 2 bedrooms as basically bed and breakfast rentals. The rest of the standards for bed and breakfast, there's a definition, it's got to be owner occupied. It can't obviously have full family living requirements in each room. There's a common area for, the breakfast part of it. So those requirements are all codified in the Land Development Code, but the main condition was that they could only rent 2 rooms, and I can pull up that conditional use while we go on.
Okay, in the meantime, I am looking at a resolution number 2006 that's been provided to the board, which looks like a resolution approving the conditional use permit number 06-03 for a lodging facility bed and breakfast at 313 North Gross Avenue. Are you entering this into evidence for the board's review?
Oops.
Thank
What's
you.
the date of that?
I don't see a date on it.
Is that 2006? Is it before?
That should be Resolution 2006-21. It was passed on April 4th of 2006.
Just so we're clear, we're introducing all the records that were presented to the board in this case.
Thank you, Attorney Salzman.
And just to clarify the answer to your previous question, there were 2 conditions of approval. Individual rooms to be rented may not contain cooking facilities, and only 2 rooms may be rented.
Is there a provision of the code that allows for rental of the entire structure outside of this, or is it prohibited in this zoning district? What is this zoning district first that this house is in? And is there an allowable rental for the entire home outside of this?
I will look again, but I believe the zoning district is R70A. And when you say rental outside of that, okay, so there's, I guess, a couple of ways you could rent a structure. One is this is a single family, so it can only be rented to one family. And that would be rental to a family, and it would have to be long-term. There's no short-term rental that is permitted in this district. Otherwise, as a bed and breakfast that is owner-occupied, it could be operated as permitted previously and in compliance with the code requirements.
So one option is to rent the entire thing to a family for the 45 days pursuant to the code?
For greater than
Yes.
6 weeks.
And then, for greater than 6 weeks. And then the other option is to only rent 2 rooms on the property, and the owner has to live there
2 rooms in the single-family structure.
in the single-family structure.
Yeah, and this is because the conditional use was not determined to have expired. I understand the owner bought this property from someone else, but there was no, as far as the city knew, it was being continued to be operated so the conditional use could continue.
If they wanted to seek a revision to the conditional use, what would the process look like for that?
They would go back for a new conditional use.
And what are the requirements to receive a conditional use, or what are the parameters that the code lays out for that?
If they're seeking a conditional use for a bed and breakfast, they would have to meet the requirements of, and the definition of the code for a bed and breakfast, which I can
Can you read that into the record for
look
us,
up the
please?
definition.
All right, thank you.
Okay. I can do that.
And does it expire?
Well,
It
I
does,
think- Sorry, go ahead.
it doesn't, if it's not in use for, I believe it's 6 months or a year, I can look that up too. If it's documented to have ceased operation as a conditional use, then yeah, it would have expired. But as far as we know, it continued to operate as a bed and breakfast when they purchased the property, or within that time frame.
And the conditional use permit travels with the land, it wasn't specific to the previous owners?
That's correct.
Okay. And,
But it's only for the structure, not,
correct.
there's a trailer glamping thing, that's not part of that. It's not, it doesn't pertain to the trailer on the property, it's just to the structure, the
It
house
doesn't
itself.
pertain to any of the structures, permanent or not permanent, except
Or the
the
house.
main single-family
There's a
home.
main house, there's a ADU, and an RV, correct? There are three things.
I believe there
Three
is
living
a main
places.
house. There's what we
Right.
right now classify as shown on the appraiser and as shown on historical permit records, a garage and a shed, and then I guess an RV, so 4 structures, one of which is not a permanent structure. And I do have the definition of bed and breakfast when you're ready. Okay, so bed and breakfast is under the definition for lodging facility, bed and breakfast. That is an owner-occupied residence which provides for lodging on a transient basis in a structure which is listed on the city historic site inventory, but which does not change the residential or historical character of the structure. The term does not include hotel, motel, or boarding house. This structure is not in the city's historic district, but it does have a Florida master site file associated with it. It still maintains the integrity of the historic external architecture, so it qualifies for this to be a bed and breakfast under this definition.
What board has the authority to make changes to their conditional use permit?
The Board of Commissioners, sorry.
Okay. And can you just briefly describe what that process would look like?
They would apply for the conditional use, and that would go to the Technical Review Committee, to the Planning and Zoning Board, and then to the Board of Commissioners
Okay.
for one hearing each.
And I think there's probably some additional questions about the 2 accessory structures. Are the permit issues specific to those 2 structures?
The garage shows on property appraiser to have been built in or around 1950. The application for the bed and breakfast in 2006, the hearing packet showed it to be a garage at that time. The shed, I believe, does have a permit for a shed.
Does the code define either one of those?
Garage or shed, I don't know, maybe. Let's see.
And I guess ultimately the question is whether or not there was work done that was intended to make these habitable structures.
So they were cited for short-term rental of each of those structures, is my understanding. So that would classify those structures for planning and building code purposes as dwelling units. Neither one is permitted to be a dwelling unit, so I don't know that anybody's been on the inside, but if they are dwelling units, then we would assume that, or we would assume going in that there have been renovations, remodeling, or changes made to make them self-sufficient dwelling units. And there are no definitions of garage or shed. I would just say would be the dictionary definitions. They are.
What is required to make something a dwelling unit or a habitable structure under the Florida Building Code and under the city's code?
We would have to start with the Planning and Land Development Code. First, they would have to have sufficient density to add additional dwelling units, which this property does not. And then they would have to meet setbacks, which neither of those structures do. That would be 2 steps that they would need to overcome to even be able to apply for building permits to make them into dwelling units.
Are the setbacks potentially grandfathered because you said they were built in the 50s? Or you mentioned that they were shown back to the 50s on the property appraiser's office?
The garage was built in the 50s, and it probably meets the setback. It's on a survey in the conditional use packet that went in 2006. It may meet the setbacks for a garage, but once you change it to a dwelling unit, even an accessory dwelling unit, which could be done here, that's a whole different class, that doesn't count really as a unit against their density. When you go there, it has to meet the district setbacks, which the rear setback is at least 20 feet. So
And what is the density on this property?
they're allocated 1 unit.
Okay.
So you said an ADU is not possible because it can't meet the setback?
Not in, that's correct, not in the structures as they sit now.
Can I ask a question? Are they separately metered for utilities, electric and water and sewer?
That I don't know.
And Ms. McNeese, did you look at the information from Airbnb that's been presented to the board?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So I am looking at what I think are the accessory structures, and maybe if the applicant wants to clarify when they come up, they can. But the Airbnb records that have been presented to the board, it looks like they're showing 3 structures: the Magnolia House, the Palm Cottage, and the Acorn Cottage. And it looks like the Palm Cottage does have a kitchenette in it, pursuant to the pictures that were on Airbnb. And the Acorn Cottage looks like it just has, it looks like they ran electric to it. I don't know if a shed is permitted to have electric, or if that changes the nature of it, or if that is something that needs to be permitted under the building code.
A shed can have electric.
Okay.
It would need to be permitted. I don't know if it is.
And what about the plumbing for the Palm Cottage? Because since it looks like there's a kitchen in it with a sink, I'm assuming that there's some kind of plumbing out there. And just based on the size, I'm assuming that that is what is shown as the garage, because it's larger than the
Yeah, so-
Acorn Cottage.
So I think maybe to kind of see if I'm going to answer your question, a garage, any kind of accessory structure, which is what a garage or shed or most kinds, could have plumbing to it for a hose or whatever, and electric to it for a light. It's the build-out to the components of a living unit, bathroom, kitchen, beyond just a basic function as a shed or a garage that is at issue.
We'll address the RV separately.
I think they removed the RV, was the testimony. I think that's what Sergeant Boone said.
I thought we only eliminated the top two. I didn't know we took,
We can clarify. Sergeant Boone, can you clarify whether or not the RV was removed or if it's still there?
The RV is, I'm not sure if it's still on the property. I did not re-inspect, but it has been removed from the Airbnb site.
Okay.
okay.
That was called glamping and retro camper.
And were the other two units, the Acorn and the Palm Cottage, removed as well?
All of them has been
All of them were
removed from the
removed.
short-term vacation.
So we're just looking at the permits?
Which I believe is one of the questions they're here.
Got
to
it.
Try to figure out
Okay.
how to do.
Okay, so can you explain a little bit more about the permits that would be required and what kind of process they would have to go through for the electric and all of that? Do you know if there were permits pulled for those?
No,
Okay.
You don't know or there weren't any?
I don't know.
Okay.
So you want me to talk about the process? Okay, if we are talking about modifying the garage and the shed, I think is what we're talking about,
Yes.
they would need to pull permits for items that are compliant with the purpose of the structures, the garage and the shed, if they don't have those permits in place yet. But they cannot pull permits for the living units, the dwelling units. Those materials would basically have to be removed. I don't, I'm a little fuzzy, I didn't look at the pictures, and I don't know what's in there, and when we're getting down to the specifics, I'd probably coordinate with the building department on what those specific items would be, but those items would need to be removed. Any electrical for a stove, a shower and, plumbing, major electric and plumbing would not, I believe, not be compliant. Anything that makes it a dwelling unit, self-sufficient.
Would they also have to pull permits to demo what's in there?
I believe so. Now you're in building code land. Yeah.
Did the board have any questions for?
Just, well, I guess for my edification, okay, just by the numbers, the camper cannot be used as any type of rental structure. The garage/shed can't be used as any type of rental structure. The other building cannot be used for any type of rental structure. The only thing that can be used is the main dwelling, which is restricted to 2 rooms, correct?
If they,
As a B&B,
yes,
Okay.
if the owner lives there.
right, as a yeah, as a true bed and breakfast with owner occupied. Okay, thank you.
Do you have any, now this will be just questions of her, and then you get to present your case. Do you have just questions for her?
Can we
Or
present
for
our
the
case
officer?
and then ask questions?
You can ask them questions, yes.
I think we'd like to present our case.
Please begin.
Can you give us some instruction on how long this our case should be?
Speak really clearly into this. I'm sorry, I'm down to one ear today.
Gotcha. Can you give us some guidance on how long we would have to speak right now?
As long as you need. Until I cut you off because you're repeating yourself.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay. Hi, I'm Lauren Keene Almond. I was sworn in of 313 North Gross Avenue, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689. This is my husband, Eric. I'm going to speak first, and then you're going to hear from him. So we're not,
Hang on a second. I'm sorry. You want to hand them?
oh, yeah.
Can we present?
If you have materials to present, we will look at those and decide if they can be admitted.
I can't walk. Very good.
We need to see them here before we.
See if Attorney Salzman has any objection.
Yeah, we're fine. No objection.
Are there multiple copies, or are we all passing the same thing?
Sorry,
Thank
there's
you.
4.
That
We
helps.
didn't know the exact numbers. We should
That
have.
saves some time.
Correct.
So Bobby, we're accepting these into the record that the folks have brought us.
Oh, I have it, sorry. As I talk, I was gonna tell you what's in there.
Okay.
Or you can review it first, that's cool.
Give us just a minute to. These projections, were these from some real estate agent or something?
Those are from the prior owner.
From what?
The prior owner, those were attached to that listing that's
Okay.
in your
So
packet.
this is just somebody's opinion on this?
Correct.
Okay.
They're clear in here. That's the original house. This is inside the house. This is the shed, or one of the sheds. This is what, the kitchen. This is, would be the garage. And that's the RV. So, I mean, everybody's living in all of it. If you've finished looking, we'll let them present their case, and then we can ask them questions. Please go ahead, Lauren and
Alex?
Eric.
Thank you, Ms. Wade. So Eric and I just want to give you a little bit of background because I think it will actually help clarify some of those questions you've all have been asking. We're not Tarpon Springs natives. We are Tampa Bay natives. I'm from St. Pete. He's from Plant City. And the first time we visited Tarpon Springs, we knew we wanted to live here. Like, great people, so much nicer than St. Pete. Sorry, this is probably going on like a record. But we knew we wanted to move here. We knew we needed to find the right house for us. And that's where this property came in. Now, as you can see from the packet, the house was falling down. The roof was actively leaking. Our friends and family thought we were crazy, married under a year, 27 and 30 years old, and we're like, we are gonna save this thing. Oh yeah, middle of COVID. Not a great time to buy a bread and breakfast, if you were wondering. But our goal was to rent the property out, rent some of it out, and basically live for free. We always traveled for work and we had some spare time. So in your packet, that first picture is Eric and I on June 8th, 2020. That's the day we bought the property. And what else is in here? Then there's the listing. As you can see, we thought we were buying a quadplex, because that's how it was noted in the listing, with those 2 cottages, is what we call them, in the back, and an entire mobile home. was there, which we did. You've heard mention of the camper. We replaced the mobile home with the camper. So that's a little bit of background there, and thank you guys for your attention today. I'm gonna give you a little more background, and then you'll hear from him. He's smarter than me. So we purchased the property in June 2020 from Barbara Lawrence. She is the one that got that conditional approval in 2006 with her husband Larry. He had passed away by that point, and that's really why we think it had fallen into such disrepair. It was a lot for one person. It's a lot for two people, honestly. So there has the main house. You'll see that in your packet. We actually just put our landscaping plan in there for when we did the landscaping, but that gives you an idea of what the layout is. The main house, which was built in 1901, and then those 2 units in the back. And we were stoked, because we're like, we're gonna invest in this property, we're gonna save it. We did the structure, the roof, the floors, painted inside and out, did the kitchen, the yard, the fence, and this took just under 6 months and $150,000. As you know, they had that conditional approval, and so we took over, as you can see, from what the listing was, what her numbers were, we took it over and ran it exactly how she had been running it. She was actually living in the mobile home, renting out the house and renting out those 2 units, and that's what she told us we could do, and so that's what we did. So we're really not contesting that, with the exception of switching out the camper for the mobile home. And we were, for the most part, in the house, and we loved it. We loved it so much, I quit my full-time job to do this on June 14th. And as you heard, we got the letter on June 22nd. And we were caught off guard because we felt like we were doing what we were supposed to be doing. We did enough due diligence to know that permits had been pulled for the shed, tons of electrical permits, and this is what it says in the property appraiser. Property appraiser says it's single family, multiple houses per parcel, with multifamily use for the land. We knew we had the conditional zoning for the lodging. So we really thought we were above board, so we were caught off guard. We were especially caught off guard because the day after we finished our projects, phase 1, that $150,000 I talked about, a large Caterpillar equipment machine rolled down the street and tore the street entirely apart. And we suffered for over a year, day in and day out, from 6 a.m. to 9 or 10 p.m. with the beeps. Every time I hear one of those beeps, we're still like wound up. So we took that like champs. We really did. When you guys took down our retaining wall, when you ripped up that fence, when you cracked up our new walls that we had just spent all that money doing, we were chill. We really were. So we were really hurt, frankly, when we received this letter and how threatening and menacing and aggressive it really was, because we never were throughout that whole thing. And I just wanted to put that on the record. And we invested more than money into that property. It may be cliche, but a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, some of which you might see in a second from me. And that's all I wanted to say. Eric can tell you more about it.
Yeah, so, the document you received was just to tell you a little bit about the property in general. I have another handout here that I would like to present as evidence as well.
No objection.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Give us just a minute if you would, please.
Absolutely.
Did y'all finish? If you'd like to continue, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you. So I really just want to drive home the point and everything you see in this packet that we're not your typical tourist home violation case that you probably hear every month. We've operated as a legitimate business. We believed that we were doing everything above board in accordance with what we had to do. We operated it for almost 3 years, and obviously nothing happened. So we were under the impression that we were doing everything as we should be doing. This was not a hobby to us. As Lauren said, she just recently left her job to do this full time. This is not our only vacation rental. We have more in other areas. So obviously being located, I don't know if you must be, it's right next door to City Hall. This is obviously not something that we ever tried to hide, because you can't hide something like that. It's literally right next door. We believe we had the conditional use for the lodging zoning, which we do. During the construction, we had city officials actually help us determine where our guests could actually park while the construction was occurring and our street was ripped up. We are members of the Chamber of Commerce, and they've even sent us referrals for guests to stay at our property. We're licensed with the state, so you can see our state license on that first page. You can see an email from the Chamber of Commerce sending us a referral. In the packet, you'll see our renter agreement. It's just a sample of proof that this is more than an Airbnb. This is not just an Airbnb. We have our own systems and processes to run this as a legitimate business. We collect a security deposit as well. All things that you can't do through Airbnb. We have a completely separate software. Airbnb is more or less our marketing partner in getting guests. We also carry the correct insurance. So it's not a regular insurance policy. It's insured for this specific nightly rental use. I guarantee you 90% of people running Airbnbs don't do that, because Airbnb claims that they provide protection, but they don't protect you entirely. I think, is that everything? Let's see. Okay. Next, I wanted to kind of just touch on the economic value that we bring to the community. So in addition to the aesthetic and physical improvements that we've made to the property, increasing property values, increasing property tax revenue for the county and the state, our rental business contributes to the city of Tarpon Springs in many ways. We employ cleaners, landscapers, pest control, other staff that help support our operations. We've hosted nearly 400 guest stays since 2001, since we started. 2021, sorry. And that excludes what Barbara did prior, the 14 years prior. Who knows how many guests that she's hosted in that house. We had a total of 1,656 nights rented on our property in the 2.5 to 3 years that we were renting it. So if you think of 1,656 nights that guests were in Tarpon Springs, exploring Tarpon Springs, visiting local bars, visiting restaurants, spending money, generating sales tax revenue for the county and the state, or the county, I guess. That's quite a bit. In addition to that, we've collected and remitted all of our tourist taxes, which equates to nearly $25,000 in state and county tourist taxes that we've collected and remitted. And sort of, as a testament to what we provide to the city of Tarpon Springs in our operations, I picked a few of, again, we have hundreds and hundreds of these reviews, but I'd like to read a couple of them for the record here.
I think we're going to be okay with, we were able to read those and we understood the tone of them.
Okay, yeah, how they noted all the local establishments and restaurants and how legitimate of a business we run and how good we are as hosts, okay. And then, we turn to the support of our community, to to help us in this case, just to get their understanding of what we've been doing. So we prepared a letter for them, and it reads, "Dearest neighbor, we have been fortunate to have you as our neighbor in downtown Tarpon Springs, and we truly value the sense of community that our neighborhood shares. Today, I'm reaching out to you to ask for help with an important matter. As you may be aware, our vacation rental business, which we have diligently operated for almost 3 years at 313 North Gross Avenue, has recently come under the scrutiny of the city of Tarpon Springs. As you probably know, we've used the property in the same way as the prior owner, with the exception being the many improvements we've made. The city is considering measures that could potentially lead to the shutdown of our business. We believe that our vacation rental has contributed positively to the neighborhood, and we are seeking the support of our fellow neighbors to demonstrate the benefits we have brought to the community. Over the years, we have made substantial efforts to improve the property, enhancing its aesthetic appeal and ensuring that it aligns with the character of the neighborhood. We take pride in the fact that our property improvements have contributed to the overall increase in property values for our neighbors. Our commitment to maintaining a professional operation has also led to a seamless and peaceful coexistence with our neighbors, as evidenced by the absence of disruptions or disturbances that might infringe on your peaceful enjoyment of your properties. We kindly request your assistance in supporting our case to continue operating our vacation rental business. Your endorsement will go a long way in demonstrating to the city that we are responsible and considerate hosts who have positively impacted the community. By signing this letter, you are conveying to the city that our business has been an asset to the neighborhood, both in terms of property values and the overall atmosphere of our downtown area. And you support the continued use of our property at 313 North Gross Avenue as a vacation rental. If you find yourself in agreement, we kindly ask that you sign, and we will present it at our hearing August 10th, 2023. Thank you for your consideration. Thank you for considering this request and for being an integral part of our vibrant downtown community. Your support means a lot to us. And we have the signatures of every single neighbor that directly connects to our property across the street and even a couple down the road, with the only exception being the one side, which is the city hall. So, you know, as I mentioned, we're very passionate about this, so much so that our friends at 232 Cypress decided they were going to be selling their property. And we actually purchased that from them so that they could go back home to their family in Alabama. So we purchased that, and I just have a couple of before and after pictures. And, you know, one of the only reasons we were able to make this improvement was because of the business we were running at Gross. And the intent here is, and it's actively listed, for a long-term rental as of right now. In that property, we did not quite as extensive a renovation, structure, interior paint, some yard improvements, as you guys all could probably see and maybe notice when it was happening. During the time we were renovating it, we moved. So we did move from 313 Gross to 232 Cypress in March of this year, just to, again, facilitate the renovations that was occurring at that property. And right before we received this letter, like I said, Lauren had quit her job, and we were planning on moving back into Gross to continue that operations as we have run it for 2.5 years. So we have the intent to move back to that property.
So, question, okay, you just said that you weren't living at Gross and you were running it as a B&B, correct?
For the period since March of this year.
Right, okay, so you were not living in the house and ran as a B&B. Okay, thank you.
So I have one more set of information that I want to present, and it's addresses more of what Pat was discussing as far as some kind of a pathway, and at least my interpretation of the violations at hand and how we might address those.
Yes.
Okay, there's one more, sorry, one more.
No objection.
Yes?
Thank you. So you're proposing something you think might be workable?
He was asking a question down there.
Oh, I couldn't hear you.
I was asking, excuse me, Mr. Allman, if this DBPR information was issued by, to him for vacation rental dwellings, and a number of units is 4, is that correct? You gave us this?
That's correct.
I understand what's in here. I don't understand the last 2 pages. What are these?
That's what 313 Gross Avenue allowed us to do. We purchased the property from our friends down the street and cleaned it up because of, again, what we were able to generate from 313 North Gross Avenue and
My question is, does this represent your property?
it is, but that's
A separate issue, though.
not an issue, really.
We just wanted to show you what we were doing while we weren't at Gross from March till now.
Correct. That's a different address.
That's
That's a different address. That's 232 Cypress. That's right around the corner from 313 Gross, North Gross Avenue.
They're making the point as to their general improving of the community. One property is supporting the improvement of another property.
That's correct, and that's why it wasn't owner occupied for a period of 4 months or 5 months, whatever it was.
Well, again, my question is, there's no identification on these photographs. So, you know, it could be a picture of Sarasota for all I know.
Drive down the street, it's right down there.
That's what you were telling me, sir. What I'm telling you is there is nothing on these photographs that
Correct.
indicates a location.
It's okay, they don't really relate to this case anyway. They're a whole different property, so don't even worry about them.
I apologize, we, threw a lot together.
I'm trying not to get more confused than I already am with 4 properties, and I don't understand what the word glamping is. But then, who am I to say?
Too old, man.
Luxury camping.
The pictures that you're pointing to, they're just showing the type of work and properties that they do, but they're not really related to the case. They're just trying to tell you what kind of people
Now
they
I
are.
understand, because somebody
Okay.
has made it clear, but there was no indication on these photographs of what they actually represented.
I understand.
My apologies for not being clear. Okay,
You realize that we are not able to change the rules,
I understand.
that if you are requesting a change of rules, you're gonna have to go through the city,
Planning and zoning and board of commissioners.
Planning, Zoning, and Board of Commissions. It sounds like you're offering a remedy that we are not able to provide. We can only address the violations that were found. We can do a lot of different things, but we can't change the rules.
I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, I really, you hit it, you're spot on. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of the business and provide a little bit of
I
clarity in
understand.
the background.
Our heart breaks for you. I've seen your properties. I know what a good job you've done. This is just my opinion and not the board. I'm sorry, I should have said that. And it's a horrible example of where a realtor told you different than what the law allowed. And you may have some redress on that and these things you're offering. But
Well,
we can read through this, but we don't have the power to change the rules.
Yeah, they're not germane to this case. I mean, that's the problem.
Mr. Weeks.
I just wanted to recognize that you've done all your permitting in the 20s and 21. I also noted here that the shed had a permit in 2012, and that other renovations happened to, I guess, the house in 2002. Has anybody looked into the possibility that this was permitted? If the garage had a permit, if the door, if the additional additional remodel and renovation? You mean to tell me that none of those have to do with this renovation?
That actually was something that I noticed too. So I did want to make sure that the board is aware when you do look at your materials that were presented in your binder. And the printout from the property appraiser's office does list a number of permits. Some of them are very clear as to what they are, like you said, the roof
Exactly.
and some of that. And then some of them just say miscellaneous, so it's kind of hard to tell.
It's very hard to tell,
Yes.
and I'm not sure if we have records, but I'm wondering if these renovations and these were permitted at the time. How do we find that out?
So I don't think that Ms. McNeese was given the opportunity to really investigate the permits when Ms. Stoner had originally opened this case. So the board, at your option, can continue it to allow the Planning and Zoning Department to come back with more information on the permits that we
That's-
see listed. And then the other thing I did want to point out is there was testimony that this particular property was in the R70A.
Yeah, I was going to correct that.
Okay, all right. If you can please do that for a
So
second.
to correct that, my earlier testimony, the property is in conditional residential mix zoning district. On the future land use map, it's in residential urban. The remainder of the testimony stands because the same conditions apply.
I
So-
want to move that we go ahead and table this and find out what the permits were and come back with more knowledge in reference to whether or not this is an issue.
Do I hear a
I'll second.
second? Can I ask
I'll
the
second
police
that.
department a question? Have there been police calls in this property in any excess of what would be normal in that area?
I would not be able to say, I did not pull any reports, but being the community officer, I don't have any recognition of any calls from there.
You would know that.
Yes.
Thank you.
But before you make a motion, okay?
Motion has been made and second. You can have questions about it.
I think
Have any
city prosecutor has a suggestion here.
Suggestion first?
We're going to just withdraw all those claims at this point, make sure that everything is okay, now that they've come in compliance with the other aspect. So we'll withdraw those other claims.
So so we have a motion that we can take away, and we're,
But
So if he's offering to withdraw, I would
Higher case.
request that the maker of the motion and the second of the motion, if you can confirm that that's okay with you?
Sure.
yeah, I withdraw the motion.
Okay.
one more question?
No, the question I had was, okay, it's kind of like you open up Pandora's box, okay? So, you know, some of the information that's presented really isn't germane to the case.
Yeah, there's some issues.
Yeah, definitely some issues, okay? Not living in the house and renting as a B&B for 4 or 5 months, that's clearly in violation of the
Right.
actual, you know, what the conditional,
I think she knows that now.
Right.
And I think that they need to be given the opportunity to work on this with the city outside of this process.
right, and it's also
100%
limited to
agree.
Please.
the one house. That's it. I mean, so the bottom line is, not that we don't like it, we don't want to see you here again. I mean, this is the whole deal is, we're supposed to help you, help the city. So, you know, if everything is copacetic, everybody gets along. But, you know, we don't like being the bad guys or gals. But the problem is, we have to follow what the law and the regulations are. And as the chair said, we can't change things. You know, we appreciate everything you're doing and feel for you. But at the end of the day, kind of like, you know, King Solomon, we got to make the hard decisions and based on the facts, so.
But the city is not
Yeah.
an immovable object. They are reasonable. There are people in the different departments that, as you have met already, will really help you along. And I wanted to appreciate that you've hired real contractors
Yes.
that have licenses, insurance, and permits.
We felt
I mean,
strongly about
We
that.
can see that you've really tried so hard to do this. And we all drive by these, we know how much you've improved the way they look. So you don't, we live here, we understand.
Thank you.
It's a rock and a hard place, and the Realtor misled you, and you may have some
Might have, yeah.
We've spoken to an attorney.
way to go about that, but we're gonna take all this away for right now. Thank you for coming, and we know your heart is in it, so thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wade.
Wade? Ms. Wade?
Ms. Wade?
You
Julie.
down here? Here I am. I need those three, at least a copy of each
A
one of
copy
those
of each
packets,
of
please,
the
for
three
evidence.
things that he
There was
submitted.
3 of them. I just
I'm
need a
gonna
copy
walk
of
mine
each,
down
please.
there, then we won't get mixed up.
Okay.
So you have, these are the 3 items that were.
Thank you.
And for people that are watching or listening, everything that's submitted gets recorded and retained, and so I'm making sure that what they brought is put in with the case. So now we're gonna,
Yes, Madam Chair, the next one.
is number 10.
Number 10 was the next
So
one.
the folks
where
that have
somebody's
been
here.
waiting for case number 10, which is case number 23-800000071, Dorado Custom Boats, 1300 Eleanor Industrial Boulevard. Yes, sir, could you identify yourself, please?
Hi there, my name is Adam Roleski. I'm the general manager of Dorado Custom Boats.
Adam,
Roleski.
thank you. The city will present a case, you can ask questions, then you present and we can ask questions and we'll go from there. Go ahead, Boone.
Okay, I'm Officer Boone for the Tarpon Springs Police Department, the community outreach guy working in code enforcement. This is the case is 23800000071, 1300 Eleanor Industrial Boulevard. It's was a notice of violation for the building department where there should have been plans submitted, went through TRC and certain permits pulled that were not done prior to Cindy's inspection. And I went out and posted the property, spoke with the gentleman who's at the counter, and I called Pat. And once again, Pat is here with the building department and planning and zoning to discuss where we are with the proper permits.
And Officer Boone, just quickly, you're offering all the materials in the packet for evidence as the board's consideration, correct?
I am.
And do you have any objection to that?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So will you state which codes are being violated, please? 6-1,
Yes, 6-1 building code adopted. The following codes are hereby adopted by reference. As set in the section, the state of Florida, building code 2020 edition appendix 2, state Florida adopted the fire prevention code 7 edition as amended. The state Florida adopted national electric code, international property maintenance code 2018, standard unsafe building and abatement code, and flood resistance, and design and the construction of ASCE standards.
so for the board, we have them listed as 6-1 of the Florida Building Code, FBC 105.1, and 210 for site plans.
And 210s were the site plans, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Officer Boone, was Ms. McNeese also going to offer testimony on this one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Does the board have any questions for the city? Or Ms. McNeese is going to, okay.
She is.
I'm sorry, I never said. I'm Pat McNeese, I'm principal planner with Planning and Zoning. My knowledge of this case, I worked a little bit with former Officer Stoner. Their first step, I did visit the site with Officer Stoner and with Keith Mead, the assistant building official, and identified their first step as completing the site plan process under Section 210 of the Land Development Code. They did get in touch with me. My last communication was with Mr. Gregg. I don't know if that's who this is. In May of 2023, sending him the requirements for site plan and the links to all the applications.
The permits have been applied for currently?
I have not received, we haven't received anything since then.
Ms. McNeese, are you familiar with the resolution for the conditional use that has been provided to the board for this property? It's Resolution 2017-21, a resolution for a conditional use permit and associated site plan to allow for manufacturing of recreational watercraft.
Yes.
So in this approval, was this associated with a specific site plan?
Yes.
I also see a number of conditions listed. Can you explain which, if any, of these conditions are at issue here today?
The issue would be with the description of the project approved, under approval. You'll see it was approved for a 7,980 square foot building, and there have been additions to the building, which I'm going to estimate, just based on aerial photography, are somewhere around 3,500 square feet total. I don't know that for a fact, but that would kick it back to coming back to site plan approval because it's over 500 square feet.
Does that require them to go through the conditional use application process again?
No, just site plan approval.
Okay. Even without the conditional use approval, would they still have to go through the site plan process for this? For the additions?
Yes.
Okay.
When the original construction was completed, these items that we're addressing today did not exist. These have been added on since the permit has lapsed and were not inspected.
Since the project was constructed and a certificate of occupancy was issued.
Granted.
Yes.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for them? Then would you like to present your side, please? Or do you have a question for them?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't. And I would like to start by apologizing to the board for my apparent lack of preparedness today. It is my first day back on site at the facility. I've been out for almost 2 weeks due to an unexpected and recent death in my family. I did try to contact Mr. Gregg today so I could get him here to be a part of this and explain what he's done so far up to date. We hired this gentleman to obviously get the site plans updated for reapproval with the city. I was not able to touch base with him today. I left him a couple of messages. My plan was to have him here, but being off site for the last couple of weeks, I was not able to do that. So I believe the area that they're talking about is on the side of the newer structure that was approved. It was added in order to be able to maneuver the boats around from the fiberglass shop over to the assembly area, which is where the cover is, and I believe that's part of the issue as well as the cover that was put over the non-permeable ground that we had there. He had been working on the site plan. I was not aware that he had not made any contact since May 19th. And like I said, I was unable to touch base with him today. So I will be, now that I'm back at work, I will be, obviously, priority one is to get in touch with him and make sure he's getting the city up to speed and following on with his communications here to get this site plan approved or whatever the next step is. I'm not actually aware of what that was. Like I said, I've been out and I certainly didn't want to miss this meeting and disrespect the board. I certainly appreciate all of your time here today. But I am quite unprepared for this meeting. I don't have any materials to present right now other than we had Bob Gregg is the engineer/architect that was going to resubmit the site plans for approval.
And how long do you think how long will it take you to become in compliance and to meet the city's requirements?
I would have to touch base with him to find out exactly where he's at in the process.
Can you give me an estimate? Is this a month job, or is this 6 weeks, or is this?
I would imagine a month to about 6 weeks.
You think that you can get a handle on this within 6 weeks?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I think I missed what your position is with the company.
I'm the general manager.
You're the general manager?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Does the city have any questions for him?
The only question I have is what we're requesting for compliance, and my understanding is that is submission of the site plan. I'm sorry, for compliance on this one, my understanding is that what the city is requesting is submission of a site plan, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I would just like to note that 6 weeks from today is actually the deadline date for the October DRC. So if they can get it in by that date, that is September 21st, then they would be in to start the process, and that would satisfy planning and zoning anyway.
Did you understand what she was talking about?
I need to have the site plan completed and submitted to the city by September 21st.
You're going to need to light a fire, yes, under your people to get this done in time, but that would be the optimal solution for this.
Okay.
Does someone on the board like to make a motion? We understand that they are not in compliance at this time, but they're making an effort to be. Keep that in mind when you make your motion.
This has no bearing on the case. What kind of boats do you build?
Prado.
Custom bay boats and nearshore boats. We have 2 models that we manufacture, a 23 and a 25.
Very nice. Outboard or inboard?
Outboards.
Okay.
I think one.
Okay, I move in case number 23-8000071, Dorado Custom Boats LLC, in violation of the City of Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinance, Section 6-1, the Florida Building Code, Florida Building Code 105.1 and 210.00 site plans for the property located at 1300 L&R Industrial Boulevard, Tarpon Springs, and to assess a fine of $25 per day beginning on
September 21st.
September 21st, until compliance is achieved, and to order the respondent to contact the Code Enforcement Division to arrange for a reinspection of the property to verify compliance with the board's order.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Do you feel, if anybody has a question, I had a question on the motion. Do you feel like that was a significant, we like to have carrots and sticks. Was the stick big enough on that?
Actually, it's actually the first.
First time? No problem.
Yeah, so.
Bobby, would you like to do roll call, please?
Mr. Ogle did not vote, okay. Sorry, we didn't notice him. Dr. Matea?
Aye.
Mr. Rollinston?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. Fafidio?
Aye.
Ms. Wade?
Yes. Thank you for coming. She's going to summarize what you've been told here.
You have to submit a site plan for the improvements to the Planning and Zoning Board by September 21st in order to avoid a fine being assessed of $25 per day for every day that you fail to submit the site plan to the city for the subject property.
Understood.
Thank you.
I thank the board for your time.
As we talked about earlier, we're skipping around a little bit. The next case for which there's someone in attendance is number 16. We'll do that one, and then we're going to take just a little bit of a break. If you'd like to come forward and identify yourself, please. This is case number 23-8000040. I believe you're representing Atlas Cleaners LLC, which is on 509 West Cedar Street.
Yes, hi, my name is Panamitas Saroukas.
I need you to speak right into the microphone.
Yes, hi, my name is Panamitas Saroukas. I am the owner of Atlas Cleaners and the owner of the property on 509 West Cedar.
And then the city will present, and then you, I'm so sorry, I need you to say your name one more time.
Panamitas Saroukas.
Mr. Saroukas. We got it.
It's going to be just sir for me. Thank you. Officer Boone's going to present the city's case.
Again, I'm Officer Boone, Tarpon Springs Police Department. I'm the community officer doing code enforcement investigations from our code inspector, Cindy Stoner, so I'm filling in for it. This is case 23-8000040 for address 509 West Cedar. One of the violations in this was getting the proper permits on a proper time. Looking through Ms. Stoner's case and talking again with Pat McNeese through the building department, this gentleman with the Atlas Cleaners applied on August 4th for the proper permit, which the number's 23-1749. So we are moving forward. So I'm sure he may ask for a little time, but he has moved forward at this point. Once the permit is pulled, then the building inspections will go out and start doing their inspections.
And I'd like to clarify that the two counts that are being brought forward are 6-1 of the Florida Building Code and FBC 105.1, which is permits required.
And Madam Chair, I just want to make sure it's clear for the record that we are here on a second hearing on this. At your original hearing, if you look, I believe it's part of Exhibit 1 is your original order. In the board's original order, what you provided was for compliance on or before July 14th, 2023, and a fine of $75 per day. So you testified that it was August 4th
Correct.
when they
applied.
that they actually applied. And hold on just one second. So are you asking the board to impose the fine from July 14th to August 4th with costs?
I would not at this point because I believe they had an issue with the application process, and that's one of the reasons why he's here to extend it. So I would not want to impose the fine during that time frame.
Just want to be clear what we're asking for.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Understand. And I'm trying to be clear every day, something new.
So he came here before, we gave him a time limit, that was not met, but there were extenuating circumstances. Correct. Did I summarize correctly?
I think that would be great.
Okay. Do you have questions for the officer?
No,
or
I just wanna
anyone on the
thank-
board?
I'm sorry.
Would you like to present your case, please?
Yes, please. Just not a case, just explain. I want to thank Officer Boone for that. But we actually submitted on 7/13. I submitted for the application, and it went into pending for approval, and then it came back, and they asked us to resubmit the application page on the 4th, and we did that. So that's where the August 4th date come from.
And do you have any objections to the materials provided by the city being entered into evidence for this case?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone have questions for him?
The status now, it's actually it's been submitted.
It's been submitted, it's in process.
Okay.
Cedar Street ought to be beautiful after all this. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Right now, we're waiting for the city to come.
But we need to extend his compliance date, otherwise he's getting hit for something that wasn't his fault,
Right. Okay.
I think.
We're looking at this.
We don't really have a motion that does that, but
We just move to extend our existing order.
I think we could extend the date on our other order.
It would be a motion to amend your first order to make the compliance date August 4th.
I so move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Who is my first? My second? Thank you. Just one moment, please. Mr. Ogle?
Yes.
Dr. Matea?
Aye.
Mr. Rolston?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Video?
Aye.
Ms. Wade?
Yes. Now, we've given you an extension, and we don't want to see you again, so please take care of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
They will
Board.
send you paperwork documenting all this.
Thank you so much.
Now we can go back to number two. Number 2 on our list.
2.
I'm going to check off 8 and 10 so I don't forget. 16. Is there anyone here for case that came in late? All right. Case 2, which is case number 23-800000139, Tropical Tile, 645 River Village Drive. No one is here for that case. The city will proceed.
I am Officer Boone, Tarpon Springs Police Department, community officer filling in for the code enforcement officer, the former Cindy Stoner. This is case number 23-00000139 for 645 River Village Drive in the city of Tarpon Springs, 34689. This would have been a notice of violation for short-term rental here in the Tarpon Springs area. I was able on August 7th to reach out to the property owner of this who was in compliance. They extended their stay more than 42 days out, 6 weeks. So I'm requesting the board put them in compliance. And there was some verbiage used a few minutes ago about not
Seeking a declaration of violation.
declaration of violation. I want to waive that if I can.
There's nothing else to submit. Would the board like to make a motion on that, please?
And each of these people I have made personal contact with, not just all emails. I verbally spoke to them.
That's appreciated, thank you.
I move in case number 23-8000139 to find the respondent, Tropical Tile Incorporated, 645 River Village Drive, is in compliance for correcting violations 241.00 alpha, parens 213, and 25.06 MHP Mobile Home Park District, and accept the affidavit of compliance.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Bobby.
Mr. Ogle?
Yes.
Dr. McKay?
Aye.
Mr. Rolliston?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks? Yes. Mr. Perfidio?
Aye.
Ms. Wade?
Yes. Case 3, 23-8000141, Keith M. DeRocker and Ginger V. DeRocker, 1645 Seabreeze Drive. Is this?
Yeah, I just want to present to the board that I know these folks, they're my neighbors. I do socialize with them on occasion. And I have spoken to Mr. DeRocker, I guess last week, because he actually mentioned to me that, hey, I'll be seeing you at Codes Board, and he told me what was going on. I said, and what my guidance to him was, well, you know, just follow the rules, that's all there is to it. And he said, yeah, no problem. And I told him that, you know, if I may have to, I guess, absent myself from the ruling, but after speaking to the attorney, I can make a just and an honest judgment.
You have no financial
I have no
implications in
financial
this?
implications other than social, say hi, have a drink.
So he has no legal conflict of interest, but is making an ex parte disclosure. And based on your conversation, can you still make a fair and impartial decision on the information and evidence that is presented to you today?
Yes, I can.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, again, I'm Officer Boone, Tarpon Springs Police Department. The community officer filling in for code enforcement through Cindy Stoner's investigation, former code inspector. This is also before you, the case numbers 238000141 for 1645 Seabreeze Drive, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689. Through the investigation, it's a short-term rental, was also part of the violation here, 241.00. I was able to make contact with the property owner on August 7th, and I went through the VRBO Airbnb sites and found out they were in a compliance of the 6 weeks, the 42-day minimum. So I also, in this case, no declaration of violations on that as well, since they are in compliance.
Would anybody like to make a motion to that effect, please?
Yeah. I move in case number 23-8000141 to find the respondents Kenneth M. DeRocker and Ginger V. DeRocker came into compliance and accept the affidavit of noncompliance. On the, I'm sorry, in compliance with the code, Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinances, Section 241.00, Alpha 213, and 25.02, and to accept the affidavit of compliance.
Need a second?
Second.
Thank you. Bobby, roll call, please.
Vogel,
Yes.
Matea,
Aye.
Mr. Rollinson,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Mr. Video,
Aye.
Ms. Wade.
Yes. Case 4, or item 4, excuse me, case number 23-800000145, Frisbee Pollard Development LLC, 484 Wayfarer Court.
If I can notify everyone, the address is 424 Wayfair Court.
We have an address change. It is 424. Is it 424B or straight 424?
424.
Thank you. Correction for the record.
And they are here in the audience, also want to do a public comment, is the reasons they're here. I'm Officer Boone, Tarpon Springs Police Community Division, filling in for the code enforcement case, relieving Miss Cindy Stoner from her inspections. Case number 23800000145 for 424 Wayfair Court, Tarpon Springs, Florida 34689. This was a vacation tourist home as well. A couple of things. One, they're here, and two, I was able to speak with the property owners, and they are in compliance. They are with the 6 weeks, more than 42 days. A matter of fact, I think they even took it completely off at this point, and I'm looking at no declaration of violation in this as well.
Thank you. With that information, would the board like to make a motion, please?
I move in case number 23-800000145 to find the respondent Frisbee Pollard Development LLC, 424 Wayfarer Court, is in compliance with the violations of 241.00 Alpha, Parents 213, and 25.02, and accept the affidavit of compliance.
I second.
Roll call, Bobby?
Mr. Ogle? Yes. Dr. Matea,
Aye.
Mr. Rollinston,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Mr. Video,
Aye.
Ms. Wade.
Yes. Thank you for coming. Case 5, 23-800000082, B. Scott Taylor, Elizabeth Lee Taylor, 939 Bayshore Drive.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm Officer Boone, Tarpon Springs Police, the Community Outreach Officer, working in the code enforcement, assisting Cindy Stoner, who's no longer here with us, for case 23800000082, 939 Bayshore Drive, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689. This also was a short-term vacation rental that was out, and I was able to check the site to make sure they were in compliance for the 42-day more or 6 weeks. And I also was able to share this information with the property owner, and I made contact with them as well. I would like to do the no declaration violation since they did come into compliance once they saw this was coming ahead.
Thank you. Board?
I move in case 23800000082 to find the respondents B. Scott Taylor and Elizabeth Lee Taylor in compliance with the Code of Ordinances, Section 241.00 Alpha 213 and 25.02, and accept the affidavit of compliance.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Ogle,
Yes.
Dr. Matea,
Aye.
Mr. Rollinston,
Yes.
Weeks,
Yes.
Mr. Perfidio,
Aye.
Ms. Wade.
Yes. Six, 23-800000092, Louis F.S. Rodriguez, 734 Sunset Drive. Go ahead, sir. Oh.
Are you ready for me, ma'am? I'm sorry.
That's all right, yes, sir.
All right, and we're on case 6?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I'm Officer Boone, Tarpon Springs Police Department Community Outreach, filling in code enforcement. Assisted Cindy Stoner, who was the former investigator for this case. 238-000-0092. Address is 734 Sunset Drive, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689. This also was a short-term vacation rental. I went through the case, was able to go through each Airbnb and VRBO, and the property owner was made contact on 8/7, and they removed the site. And I wasn't sure if they were going to put it back on, but they understood if they did, it would be 6 weeks, 42 days further. Very, very polite, cooperative during my investigation. I request that we do no declaration violation as well in this one.
Thank you, board.
I move in case 23-800000092 to find the respondent Louis F.S. Rodriguez in compliance with the City of Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinances, Section 241.00, Alpha 213, and 25.02, and accept the affidavit of compliance.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Ogle,
Yes.
Dr. Matea,
Aye.
Mr. Rollinston,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Mr. Perfidio,
Aye.
Ms. Wade.
Yes. Case 7, 23-800000148, Nicole Marie Whitaker, 1725 Mandalay Drive.
And we're on number 7?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm Officer Boone, Tarpon Springs Police Department, Community Outreach Officer, filling in the code enforcement. As well, I assisted Miss Cindy Stoner through this investigation. It is a short-term rental, case number 238-800000148 for 125 Mandalay Drive, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689. This is a short-term rental vacation. My investigation through this, as I checked the site, I noticed that the site was on the 42-day out or 6 weeks. I was able to talk to the property owner as well, and who was aware of it and made this case come in compliance. And I also would say no declaration of violation for this short-term rental as well.
Thank you.
Somebody stop me if this sounds familiar. I move in case 23-800000148 to find the respondent Nicole Marie Whitaker in compliance with the City of Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinances, Section 241.00, Alpha 213, and 25.02, and accept the affidavit of compliance.
Second.
Bobby?
Mr. Ogle,
Yes.
Dr. Matea,
Aye.
Mr. Rollinston,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Mr. Perfidio,
Aye.
Ms. Wade.
Yes. I noticed that all of these say they, or almost all of them say they were brought from a citizen complaint.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it okay to ask, was it the same citizen that brought all of these? Don't have to
I
name
would
the
have
name.
to, I would have to look through
Okay,
each
just
and every one.
curious, thank
Yes.
you. We're skipping now because we did 8. We're on case 9, which is number 23-8000156. Edvina, oh boy, Ibrahimovic, 39 West Oakwood Street.
Correct. I'm Officer Boone, Tarpon Springs Police Department, Community Outreach, as well as filling in for the code. I'm doing the final inspection with this, with our former Cindy Stoner, who was the inspector. Case number 23-8000156, address 39 West Oakwood Street, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689. I went on this site Monday, August 7th, and I noticed that the property was removed from a day to day. It's out to a 42 or more, or 6 weeks. In my notes here, I don't show that I made contact with the property owner. That being the case, checking again this morning, it was also still out for 42 days or more and a 6 weeks. I would say that they're in compliance and request no declaration violation in this case as well.
Thank you. Board?
I'm moving case number,
Go for it. Saying that in my sleep at this point.
case number 23-8000156, to find the respondent Edvina Ibrahimovic, 39 West Oakwood Street, is in compliance for correcting the violations 241.00 alpha parents 213 and 70.00 special area plans, and to accept the affidavit of compliance.
Second.
Roll call, Bobby?
Mr. Ogle?
Yes.
Dr. Matea? Oh, he's gone. Sorry.
He is stepped out.
Okay, just need a note. Mr.
1,
Rollinson?
2.
Yes.
3.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. Perfidio?
Aye.
Ms. Wade?
Yes. Please make a note that Dr. Mateo was not here to vote on that one.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
That's what I was doing. Thank you.
Case 11. And before I start, do I need to ask the board, do we need to stop for a minute, or are we okay to finish up? You're okay? All right. 23-8000171, Elise Victoria Withall, 717 Carolina Avenue.
I don't know if this will help or if we can do it, but 172 and 173 is all the same property owner.
And the third one down from that also, but it looks like it's a little different complaint on the third one. Can we combine the 11 and 12?
So, yes, go ahead and announce,
The number?
are these compliant?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so just go ahead and announce both numbers together, and we can handle numbers 11 and 12
Alrighty.
together.
Case 11 and case 12 will be heard together. The owner is the same, Elise Withall. We mentioned case 11. This is case 12, 8-0000172, to be done in conjunction with 171. Go ahead, please, sir.
Okay, I'm Officer Boone, Community Outreach Officer, filling in the code enforcement, assisted following up Ms. Cindy Stoner, the prior code enforcement investigator, for case 238000171, and that's 717 Carolina Avenue, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689, as well as case 238000172, and that's 467 Pent Street, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689. These were short-term rental vacation homes, and I did make contact with the property owner, and after checking the proper sites, they have been set for 42-day or more or 6 weeks out, and understands the procedure, and I recommend no declaration of violation for these 2 cases as well.
And these are unrelated to the next case?
Correct.
Other than being the same owner, okay, thank you.
Correct.
Board?
Well, sort of.
I move in case number 23-800000171 and case -23-800000172 to find the respondent, Elise Victoria Whittle, in compliance for correcting the violations of 241.00 Alpha Parents 213 and 25.03 for both properties are in compliance and to accept the affidavit of compliance.
Second.
Seconded, thank you. Bobby, roll call?
Mr. Ogle?
Yes.
Dr. Tay is still out. Mr. Rollinston?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. Presidio?
Aye.
And Ms. Wade?
Yes. Case 13 on our schedule, 23-800000173, also Elise Whittall or Whitthall, in conjunction with Olivia Dotson. And these are different concerns than the
So
previous
that
one.
actually is a different case. Let me show
13. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we could have done it all together.
Yeah, it took me a moment to realize, so.
Better safe than sorry, that's fine.
Yes, thank you.
It's all right.
I see what happened. The holes are on the wrong side, so I turned it around. Thank you. Case 13, sir.
All right, I'm Officer Boone, Tarpon Springs Police Department. I'm the community outreach, doing some code enforcement, filling in. I assisted Miss Cindy Stoner once she left this position as an investigator, and take a shot at looking at this case. 238-00000173. This address is 515 Pent Street, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689. This was a short-term rental home as well in a single-family residential district, R100, R100A, and R7A. After speaking again with this homeowner, she is in compliance. She took the site completely down and was not even aware it was part of the site at the time. Never rented it out. It is her primary home.
Yes.
I checked. It was not on the site at all. It is her primary home, and I request no declaration violation in this case as well.
Thank you.
I move in case number 23-800000173 to find the respondents, Elise Whittall and Olivia Dotson, in compliance for correcting the violations of 241.00 Alpha Parents 213 and 25.02, and to accept the affidavit of compliance.
Second.
Thank you, Bobby.
Ogle?
Yes.
Dr. Tay. Mr. Rollinston?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. Presidio?
Aye.
Ms. Wade?
Yes.
Okey-dokey.
The next couple of items are affidavits of non-compliance and second orders. Case 14, 20-8, 0000556, Cynthia Lee Johnson, 990 Sunrise Drive.
Right, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
And these corrections have not occurred, so the board will need to accept the affidavit of noncompliance and deliver the fine amounts.
Ms. Wade, can I? Once again, I'm Officer Boone. I did go and talk with the city, Public Works, and with the city clerks as well, and they did make the connection on April 15th, 2021.
Oh.
So they did come into compliance, and that meets and satisfies the city's requirement. I'm not, without sitting here going back through it, seeing what the date was that your first order was, but they did come in compliance on April 15th, 2021, and are currently paying the sewage hookup.
Then I'm not quite sure why we have them on our case. Maybe a little error.
It looks like they had a compliance date set for October 1st of 2022.
Correct.
Is what the materials reflect. So this would actually be for compliance, correct, Sergeant?
I agree.
Okay.
I'm moving case number 20-8000556 to find the respondents in compliance for correcting the violations and accept the affidavit of compliance.
Second.
Were we given an affidavit of compliance? I only have
You
an
can,
affidavit of non-compliance.
you can accept his testimony, and then they'll put an affidavit in the file based on his testimony here today.
Okay, thank
So
you.
because what the important part is that it's under oath, whether it's written under oath.
There's the email
and-
too.
Yeah, and he has entered the email into evidence
Right.
as well.
Okay, thank you, I'm sorry. So we had
Motion.
a motion
Second.
and a second, and we can do
compliance.
this by voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Case 15, 23-8, 0000090, Dolores G. Kaufman, 1205 Castle Works Lane. We met with those folks last month, I believe.
Correct. I'm Officer Boone, the Community Outreach Officer, filling in with the code enforcement and following up inspection of former Cindy Stoner, who was the inspector of this case. It was before you once for a re-inspection. Yesterday, about 1 o'clock, I made contact with the homeowner, Miss Dolores. I'll back up. It's case number 238-0000090, and this is 1205 Castle Works Lane, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689. I went out yesterday to do a re-inspection at 1:50 hours. Made contact with her son, Stephen, and also made contact with the mother, Dolores. The front yard looks great. It's no issues there, but it was also that we checked the backyard because the information was stressed to them that you just couldn't move the stuff from the front yard to the rear yard. And at one point, you could see the stuff. As my inspection was there yesterday, I couldn't see over the fence where stuff is piled up, but I did spend 15 to 20 minutes trying to ask for an inspection of the backyard, and I could bring them into compliance, and I was denied that.
Thank you. Kind of anticipated this outcome.
Oh, yeah.
And for the record, you're offering, the materials here presented to the board. Is the respondent or present?
The son is. and everything that's presented here.
Right.
If
Just to
you-
clarify, the mother is the homeowner of this property?
Dolores is the homeowner of this property.
I think I remember the initial presentation on this.
So is he granted speaking rights if she's not here to give them?
He cannot bind the homeowner necessarily. I do believe he's an inhabitant of the home, but ultimately it is Ms. Kaufman who is responsible for the state of this property and the condition of the property.
Only her name is on the,
Yes, we have the property appraiser's records, which I believe were entered the first time as well, so they're here again for you to review, I believe Exhibit 5.
Correct.
correct. Therefore,
And as stated, if you looked at the photos, that's all gone. Just where did it go?
Oh, so I want to be clear then, the photos that are in the packet, these items are gone? And
Yes.
these are the photos from the first time?
Yes, ma'am.
They're gone from the front yard.
They're gone from the front yard. So the two photos that are in the first shot, if you open up your package with my email
Those
to
are
the
yours.
homeowner and to code enforcement, that is what the property in the front looks like now. There's a little trailer in the driveway, and there was a compressor, and as I brought the compressor up, he moved it from the front yard. The question was when Miss Stoner, Sergeant Miller, went and did a re-inspection, you could tell the stuff was moved from the front to the back.
yes.
Well, I can't see from public sidewall over the fence now. But as I stated to Miss Dolores Kaufman, is if I can just do a quick peek to make sure that the back isn't full of tires and all the lumber, and if you're using the lumber fine, is it covered? I wasn't granted access to check that because there's too many valuables. Now, that was not from Miss Kaufman. She walked inside. That was from her son.
There's too many what? I'm sorry.
Miss Kaufman walked inside, but the son is the one that would not allow me to do the inspection. And when she left, we told him to come to code board, and she's hard of hearing, so we even brought her.
Okay. So I guess in essence, based on the past, how it was presented, and what the case was brought up originally, he has not proven that he's not in violation,
Correct.
right?
It's not proven that he's not in violation because he would not allow the inspection.
But he was in violation before, so, you just can't put a black cloth over something and say everything's copacetic.
The violation was because of property visible from the street, and now the officer tells us that that's not visible from the street, so evidently the violation has been corrected.
But
The
when we
officers
created the
observed-
violation, an inspection was required.
Say again?
The officers also observed some of those materials prior from a public sidewalk. They could see it down the side. He's now closed that gate, so they cannot verify that it's in
I
compliance.
understand that, but is it up to the individual to prove his innocence or the city to prove his guilt?
It's a requirement for the individual to allow for an inspection. They have to allow us, in order to come in compliance, when you've been found in violation, you have to allow us to come in and make sure that you're in compliance. It's very simple. So there was a finding of violation, you have to allow us to come in compliance to determine that you've met the requirements. They won't let us do it.
So you have to allow the city to come in your private
Once
property.
this board has found that there is a violation that needs to be corrected,
But it was viewable, he could see it was in violation when the first.
That is correct.
Happened, because he could see back there. And like I said, you cannot put a black cloth over something and say, hey, everything's clean now. No.
that's the
it was
city's
there.
position, that you have to allow us to inspect, so we can make that determination.
And for your review, they did enter into evidence the previous order as Exhibit 3. that requires compliance by June 23rd, and then imposes a fine of $125 per day. So that's approximately 2 months. You said your inspection date, Sergeant, was yesterday?
Was yesterday at 1:50.
We had another incident or another case like this.
We just would also reiterate that that was allowed, that was agreed to allow for the inspection.
Right.
We were all sat here, yes, sir.
Right, so the sergeant's there, then he can't,
Right, it's not a matter of proving, proving that he's not
A
guilty.
violation.
I mean, he's already shown that, hey, here was a problem, we have to verify that you've rectified the problem. And obviously, he, just putting a black cloth on it, saying, oh, it's not there anymore. Well, I'm sorry, I'm from Missouri, it's a show-me state. We have to see it, show me the wounds.
well, and what's more troubling is the fact that we arranged to come there, we can come there, and we're only shown part of it.
How many days, is that what you're
48,
calculating?
yeah.
48 days?
It's a fine amount of $6,125 so far.
6,125?
To date, from
Oh,
June 23rd, which was the date set for compliance.
Okay, so,
Does the city intend to seek an inspection warrant?
We would like one. Absolutely. We are discussing our options, actually.
Oh, okay, all right.
Affidavit of
yeah,
non-compliance.
6, yeah. Say one, chief.
5, I think.
No, but this, we had a fine imposed.
Really, all you need for this order is the amount of the fine and the finding of it is or is not in compliance. With a finding that it's not in compliance, the fine just continues to run until an affidavit of compliance is filed by the city in the public record. And the only way that can stop is with an inspection.
Okay, I move in case number 23-8000090, Dolores Coffin at 1205 Castleworks Lane. To find the respondent is not in compliance of City Code 8-51, 8-50, 8-40, 8-41, 8-52.
Was
And
40-00 not in compliance? I thought that had been brought into compliance.
I didn't mention
You
that,
d-
skipped it yet.
No, but I just think it got removed last time.
That might be one from the front.
Let me just look, if it's one from the front yard, yes, we would put that in compliance.
I think 40.00 we
want him to,
took off last time.
Yeah, I haven't mentioned 40.
I do believe the parking, yeah, I would, rather than listing out the violations, I know you're working from a
Right.
sheet you've been provided. Rather than listing out the violations, I would just ask for a motion finding that it's not in compliance with your
Okay.
previous order.
Okay. So to amend the order, I move in case number 23-8000090 to find the respondent Dolores G. Kaufman, 1205 Castle Works, not in compliance for correcting the violations.
And a fine is currently running until those
Right.
have been corrected. All in favor?
I need a second, please.
Oh, sorry.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Aye.
Sir, I know that
Hold on.
you're here today. This
Hold on.
fine-
Did you call for any opposed? Did everybody vote aye? Was it unanimous? Okay, sorry.
Everybody said aye, so I didn't ask for the
I
other.
didn't hear, sorry.
I'm sorry. The fine is already to $6,000, so we need to get this cleared up. You don't want her to get left with this big of a fine. The paperwork will be sent to you, folks. Case number 17. Affidavit of compliance, 23-8000096. Ni Tan Nguyen. It's an empty parcel. And it is now in compliance. There are no fines associated with that. We just need a motion and we can vote by.
Hold on, I believe the sergeant has some presentation on that.
Yes, we got a call to the office to come out and do a re-inspection, and we did. The re-inspection call date was about the same time Ms. Stoner was on the way out the door, or didn't make it because of whatever the circumstances are. But once it came to my desk, I went out on July 25th, 2023, attached photos, sent it to the secretary. It is in compliance. It was trimmed. A couple of the neighbors even came out, and I'm talking about case 238000096. This is the parcel number 13, 2715 21348 0020040.
And it is in compliance. If we could have a motion to that effect, please.
I move in case number 23-8000, 00096, to find the respondent is in compliance for correcting the violations and accept the affidavit of compliance.
Second.
Seconded, voice vote, please. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? One. Consent. Case 1823-8 00000081, William Strecker, Kristen Strecker, 850 Riverside Drive. We missed this when we did the others, or why is it a consent and separated?
I am not sure, but you can just pass a motion to accept the consent agenda. You don't have to take testimony on consent items.
Someone would propose that motion, please?
What's the motion for?
In compliance, no fines.
Okay, I move in case number 23-8000081 to find the respondents, William Strecker and Christian Strecker of 850 Riverside Drive, in compliance for correcting the violations and to accept the affidavit of compliance.
Second.
Second, all in favor, voice vote?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That's the last. Are there any public comments? Yes, sir.
Steve Frisbee, 1802 Mariner Drive, Tarpon Springs. I'm a vacation rental owner and a concerned citizen, and my past is a real estate developer and home builder in a town similar to the size of our community. And I'd like to volunteer to be a part of any dialogue that the city may be having or will have, and try to represent not only the vacation rental owners, but other concerned citizens. I'm familiar with the inner workings of the city, planning and zoning, and the vacation rental law, the building codes. Our vacation rental laws are decades old. Tourist home law ordinances are decades old. And as everyone knows, this vacation rental phenomena is changing daily. In fact, recent changes by Airbnb in their marketing structure shifts the dynamics. They are trying to, Airbnb that is, to promote more single room rentals, much like that one case you heard earlier. And it's because they have saturated and got so many people in the homeowners in the vacation rental market. It's a dynamic situation, and if I can contribute, I'd like to be a part of it. I do think we do need to talk about, the city needs to have an open dialogue so that we can make the necessary adjustments as a city and the citizens see fit.
I appreciate your comments. I think the more appropriate space to do that is the Board of Commissioners, because we don't get to make the rules. But I will tell you personally, and for most of us up here, when there has been a rental in our neighborhoods, it's been nothing but trouble. And that's why the city's really strict on the rules. But you're welcome to bring that up to the Board of Commissioners, absolutely.
No, I agree with you. And that there's a lot of misinformation also. But yeah, there are genuinely indeed bad players in it. And I think the city economic viewpoint could do a lot more to help the city's economy and protect the citizens if we would all get together and try to do away with the misinformation and put it in the light of day so that everyone has the right information to make their own decision. But thank you.
You may want to talk to the city manager about that, but I would tell you that we cannot change the ordinance at all because of Florida statute that would have us have no control over the situation. So if we change anything in the ordinance, the city loses control completely over any short-term rentals. But certainly we're open for dialogue, and I would direct you to talk to the city manager.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming and sitting all that time. Anybody else in the audience? I have a personal note. We lost a dear friend of us and of the police department. Michael Trill died unexpectedly, and there's a card here for everybody to sign if you would like to. He was an advocate for us. He kept us safe. He sat with us at meetings, walked us to our car if necessary, and was just a generally good guy. And we miss him very much, so I wanted to put that in.
Here, here.
Also wanted to, for general population and for everybody, the Citizens Academy has a few spaces. We often need new board members, so encourage anybody that you know that would like to go through the Citizens Academy. And we also would like to have a little better double check on everybody's phone number and email. So please make sure that yours is in your book, and we're gonna print out a list so that when we need to get a hold of each other like we have recently just to confirm meetings because there were some illnesses and things going around, that we would all have access to that. If you don't wish to share that with us, I understand, but it would sometimes be helpful for me to get a hold of you if I need to, or the other people on the board. Thank you so much for bearing with us today. Anybody else?
I would
Yes,
point
sir.
out there are no phone numbers listed in here.
Pardon?
Didn't you say phone
That's,
numbers?
that's correct.
There are no phone numbers listed.
I happen to have some, that's why when I called you and it said it was, your voicemail was full, I didn't know what.
I think we need just
Just
get
a little
roster
housekeeping
updated.
thing, that might be helpful.
I can provide you a new roster when Michelle updates it. This book is,
Can't hear her at all.
Yeah.
it's through code enforcement, but I can get each of you a list of each other's numbers and your time limits too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Get this big hearing for the city tomorrow.
Anyone else?
Cindy, my email has changed.
Okay, then
I'll
we'll
be
need,
right there.
we'll need to get that one straightened out. If there's no further,
Well, I
Yes, sir.
do want to thank Officer Boone for taking over
Yep.
in an emergency.
Okay.
All right.
what did he say?
He's got somebody outside
Somebody going nuts.
doing commotions.
Okay.
All right.
Are we adjourned, Madam Chair?
I wasn't sure, you
Yeah,
thank you
yeah.
was heard, so I think we're finished. Meeting's adjourned, thank you.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
There's an envelope here if y'all would like to sign your name. And I'm gonna put it here so it's not official business.
How you doing, kid?